In case it wasn't obvious, I'm a huge fan of Survivor. I mean, I wouldn't be making videos about it if I wasn't. Now, knowing that, you would expect me to be just as into all the other similar popular reality competition series. Well, you'd be wrong. Yeah, this may come as a shock, but it's really only Survivor that I actively watch and keep up with. I don't have anything against these other shows, but none of them really grabbed me in the same way that Survivor did. Now, it's not like I never watched any of them. I remember watching a few seasons of The Amazing Race and The Apprentice with my mom back in the day, but Survivor was the one that clicked for me. This leads me into the subject of this video, Big Brother. Arguably the biggest of these non-Survivor shows, and probably the one that Survivor fans would most easily gravitate towards. I know a decent amount about Big Brother, but I've never watched a whole season. I watched a little bit of Big Brother 2 and decided that the show just wasn't for me. I don't plan on watching any more anytime soon, but I thought it'd be fun if I, a non-fan, attempted to rank the winners. As I've never watched the seasons, this is by no means a definitive ranking, but purely a first impressions of how unique or interesting they seem, and by the very limited knowledge I do have, how they stack up compared to the others. So don't take any of this seriously. I'll be going in chronological order and will only be including the US non-celebrity seasons. With all that said, happy April Fool's Day, everyone. Now let's get started.
He was number one!
The first ever winner of Big Brother was Eddie McGee. I know nothing about this guy except that he was the first winner and that he was the only winner to not be chosen by a jury consisting of eliminated players. For those who don't know, BB1 was radically different from any other season. Instead of being Survivor in a house, it was most comparable to the real world, and who won and lost was decided by the audience. Because of that, I can't really judge how Eddie stacks up as a player, but since he was the first, I'll give him a solid B.
They call me Dr. Love. They call me Dr. Love.
Even as someone who knows jack about this show, I do know that Dr. Will Kirby is one of the most iconic TV villains of all time. Essentially Big Brother's answer to Richard Hatch, Dr. Will is a legendary reality TV figure, and rightly deserves a spot in the coveted S tier.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Lisa seems like a pretty solid winner. Being the first female winner is notable, and receiving 9 out of 10 jury votes is impressive. I don't really hear anyone talk about her, but from what I've seen, she at least deserves a high B. I get the sense that Jun Song isn't a very popular winner within the fandom. I don't know if she's necessarily hated, but I just have that gut feeling that she has a decent amount of detractors. Everywhere I go, I see her referred to as a floater, which doesn't bode well for her. And I mean, what is this reaction to winning? Like, seriously? D.
Damn, Daniel!
Drew Daniel, just browsing his stats on the Big Brother wiki, seems pretty impressive. He was the first winner to win 4 head of household competitions and to never be nominated for eviction. That would be enough for me to put him in A, but I've also read that he's kind of an asshole in real life, so I'll drop him down to the top of B.
Hello, nurse!
So apparently, Maggie Ausburn is an ER nurse, and was involved in the wrongful death of a patient, which she had covered up? What the fuck? That was definitely not something I was expecting to see on my bingo card when making this video. But yeah, that's a thing. I don't know, D tier.
Woogie, woogie, woogie.
I mentioned that I watched a little bit of BB2, so I actually did have some exposure to Boogie. And I thought he was a really fun character. Kinda reminded me of a Rob Cesternino or a Johnny Fairplay. So I thought it was cool to see that he won. I'll go with A tier. Evil Dick is a wild dude. The fact that this guy was able to win a show like this is insane. It's like if Shane Powers won Exile Island, which honestly would have been pretty awesome. Now from what I've heard, he only got to that point through some heavy production interference, so I can't put him as high as I'd want to. I'll give him a B, just above Eddie. Adam seems like a pretty decent guy, at least now, cause apparently he used his winnings to fund a drug ring. What is up with BB winners being criminals? Though to be fair, he has done his time, is clean, and now is a spokesperson for addiction recovery, which is nice to see. So I'll give Adam a C.
I like this one.
From what I've seen, I really like Dan Gheesling, something that the fans seem to agree with, as I typically see him discussed among the best Big Brother players of all time. He was the first to have a perfect game, receiving every jury vote and no votes for elimination. He's basically Big Brother's version of JT. As if that wasn't enough, he was the runner-up on BB14. He's also been on The Traitors and just seems like a genuinely great guy. Easy S tier.
Are you an angel? What?
I've seen a lot of love online for Jordan, and I can see why. She has a great personality and seems like a more than solid player. She also had a pretty notable showmance with her now husband Jeff. I just get good vibes from her, so I'm giving her an A.
This isn't Big Brother, it's Survivor. Do things different here.
Alright, finally something a little more inside my wheelhouse. As we all know, BB12 winner Hayden Moss competed on Survivor Blood vs. Water, and I really enjoyed him on that season. If Tyson had gone out at the rock draw, I think he probably would have won. He just seems like an all-around great player, and is a fun TV presence. So, I'm putting Hayden in S tier.
You win the crying contest.
Rachel Reilly, from what I can gather, is a pretty divisive figure in the Big Brother lineage, and I think I understand why. She seems to be a very strong challenge competitor, but her personality tends to turn some people off. Though she seems to be doing something right, as she is incredibly active in the show, having appeared numerous times in one form or another. Seeing that, I'll be fair and place Rachel at the top of B tier.
Dog days, we're back.
I got a comment that I apparently sound like Ian Terry, the winner of BB14, and I do kinda hear it.
Danielle yelling at me like that's just not good sportsmanship at all.
I don't know much more about him other than he was also a superfan when he won. I get a lot of Cochran energy from him, so I see him being someone who I would have identified with and rooted for if I actually watched the season. He just seems like a solid player in general. So I'll put him in A tier just below Jordan. I may be pretty limited in my knowledge of this show, but hoo boy, I've heard a lot about BB15, and none of it good. This season is pretty infamous for the racist remarks of some members of the cast, namely Herren. So, like Tommy Sheehan in Survivor Island of the Idols, despite being a strong player, I suspect Andy's win is overshadowed by the controversy surrounding his season, even if it wasn't his fault. So, I'll be fair to him and place him high in B tier.
But how do you know about them?
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Derrick Levasseur is probably the winner I've been exposed to the most. My wife is a big fan of his Crime Weekly podcast with Stephanie Harlow, so I've heard from him quite a bit. Also, as I understand, he's seen as one of the most dominant winners in the show's history, like Kim Spradlin in Survivor One World. So with that, I'll put Derrick in S tier, just above Hayden.
Hey y'all, Scott here.
Steve Moses seems like he would fit right into a new era Survivor cast. He's a huge superfan and has a ton of energy. I mean, just look at his reaction to winning. You can tell this is the greatest night of his life. His game doesn't seem mind-blowing, but I think he deserves a solid B.
Yes, Queen! Slay! Slay!
Nicole Franzel is incredibly impressive. First off, she's the only person to win Big Brother twice, though apparently her second win, Reindeer Games, was an extremely short season, so it's not as impressive as it sounds. But I still think that's enough to put her in S tier. She's also apparently great at competitions and seems to do well each time she appears. So yeah, easy S tier.
File not found.
Given that Morgan Willett's winning season, Big Brother Over the Top, has basically been scrubbed off the internet by CBS, I don't know a ton about her, but she seems fine. C tier.
No one's got us well cleft in his jib like Gaston.
Josh seems like a beast. I mean, just look at how many times he's been on the challenge. Good grief. I get the feeling that the fans don't love him, but his excitement at winning is pretty infectious. Just based on initial perception, I'll give Josh a B, just below Steve.
That's right! A girl wants to play football. How about that?
Like our last winner, Kaycee Clark is apparently an absolute monster when it comes to physical competitions, also having a shit ton of challenge appearances. I'll give her a boost above Josh, as I imagine she's a much better strategic player, so A tier she goes.
Now, do we have a problem?
Just looking at him, I got the impression that Jackson McGee was kind of a douche, something that was confirmed as I looked more into it. He seems to be a largely aggressive and confrontational person. It's like if Russell Hantz actually won. So I totally understand why many fans are split on him. So into C with the...
Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
According to fans, Cody made one of the all-time worst moves in the history of the show, by taking Derrick to the end with him in BB16 and losing to him as a result. Almost verbatim Wu to Tony in Survivor Cagayan. Though unlike Wu, Cody was able to redeem himself on his second appearance, as he went on to play a perfect game, the second US winner to do so. Also, if you're interested, he has a Big Brother themed podcast with his BB bestie Derrick. So with all that, I think Cody is deserving of an A.
Hale, it's about time.
It's crazy that it took Big Brother 23 seasons to have a black winner, but in 2021, they finally got one with Xavier. Not only that, but he won unanimously and was a finalist on his second go-around. I'm not sure how popular Xavier is, but from what I've seen, I think he's deserving of at least a B.
Nice.
Taylor Hale seems like a great player, and people seem to like her quite a bit. It might be recency bias on the fandom's part, but from what I've seen, Taylor is a strong A.
Were you killed?
Sadly, yes. But I lived.
I get major Jam Jam vibes from Jag. Whether or not that's an accurate assessment, I have no idea. But I do know he's pretty divisive amongst fans. So for now, I'll put him at the top of C.
It's the final countdown.
Last up, we have the most recent BB winner as of this video, Chelsie. And I think we're ending on a strong note, as she not only played a perfect game, but she won 4 HOHs, and she was never a have-not. All incredibly impressive. So I give her an A. Thanks for listening to me ramble about a show I don't even watch. I hope you enjoyed this silly little video. If any actual Big Brother fans are watching, feel free to tell me if I deserve head of household, or if all my opinions should be vetoed. I'm curious to see how accurate my assessments are. Anyway, I'm out. Catch you next time.